Hey, mixing friends. Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. Hope you're having a fantastic week. Going to look at a new plugin today that I've been playing with for a few months. It is the Greg Wells Mix-Centric plugin from Waves. And I'll give you a little hint. This thing is awesome. I'm going to demo it for you today, show you what it can do, and give you the rundown. Here's the thing, though. I saw these plugins come out months ago, wasn't interested in them. Then at the NAMM show, I was spending some time at the Waves booth, which is actually a great place to go if you're ever at the NAMM show because some of the best mixers on planet Earth are there showing their secrets, demoing their songs, and just letting you walk through their mixes. It's incredible. And one of my favorite producers and mixers of all time, Greg Wells, was there. Anytime I get a chance to listen to him, I do because he's a genius. And he was going over a mix and he was demoing some of his plugins, of course, it makes sense. And on the show floor, I was impressed with the Mix-Centric plugin. And that's a hard environment to really hear the new nuances because it's over a PA and everybody and their mom is there. It's a very loud environment. But I was that impressed at the demonstration at the Waves booth that when I went home from NAMM, I demoed the plugin to hear it in my own studio, on my own mixes, was blown away, bought the plugin, and I've been playing with it for about 4 or 5 months now. And I wanted to finally reveal it and demo it for you here on the channel. Here's the deal. This thing goes on your master fader. And so today I've got an old mix. I want to see what can this plugin do on something that's already mixed that you think is pretty much good and you're about to send it out. So I've inserted it as the last insert before a limiter. If I were going to really master this thing or release it as a single, I'd obviously use a limiter of some kind to get the volume up. But my final effect plugin in the chain. And what I want you to do is hear what the mix sounds like without it, and then I'm going to dial it in and hear what it can do, and then explain what's happening behind the scenes because it's a deceptively simple plugin. So just take a listen to what the mix sounds like without it.
With my tongue, I could set ablaze everything that stands in my way. Stands in my way.
All right, now let's turn it on. And what I'm going to do is simply turn up the intensity knob, let you hear what's going on. I'm going to fiddle with the output. We'll bypass it back and forth so you can hear the before and after, and then I'm going to explain what's happening here.
With my tongue, I could set ablaze everything that stands in my way. Stands in my way. Oh, with my tongue, I can confess my own desperate need for grace. I need.
Man, you could hear that immediately. When I cranked up the intensity, it got more amazing. Obviously, it got louder, so I had to dial down the output, which is strategic. You don't want to fool yourself just with loudness. But now let's take a listen to this back and forth. I'll have it on and I'll take it off.
With my tongue, I could set ablaze everything that stands in my way. Stands in my way. Oh, with my tongue, I can confess my own desperate need for grace. I need.
Incredibly beautiful. The vocals get more present, kick drum gets more up front, snare drum gets more up front. It does two things visually, if you want to view your mix visually, to me. It removes some, like the blanket theory. Oh, there's a blanket on my mix. It kind of removes that virtual blanket, as it were, revealing a lot of the clarity. And then it takes the mix from behind the screen, if you're looking at it, to closer, jumping out of the screen, reaching out to you, and bringing the mix closer in front of you. And it pumps better, has more excitement, more energy. It just sounds more finished, more like a real record. It's incredible how easy that was. I just dialed it in. So what's happening under the hood? Well, according to the team at Waves and Greg himself, there's 3 things happening in this one plugin. One is EQ. So as you dial in the intensity knob, it's applying an EQ curve to your mix. There is compression, very similar to mix bus compression, and you can hear that sort of the pumping. And then number 3 is harmonic saturation. So it's basically adding harmonic content, which is giving you some of that sizzle and that warmth. Think of like an oral exciter. There's those three processes happening in the background. And it's not a linear process either. As you dial up the intensity, it's not just a linear more or less of the same three things. The curve and the way it attacks the audio and the way it interacts with those three effects, it changes and in a very musical way as you dial in the intensity knob. So it's a deceptively simple plugin, but a very powerful mix finisher. And that's how I view this plugin as a mix finisher, is I try to get my mix sounding as good as I can, knowing that this final guy will usually give me that little bit of extra push and extra brightness that I tend to need at the end. When my ears have gotten used to the mix, I think it's bright enough, I think it's rocking enough. But if I reference something else and that final mix is just popping better, this brings it to the next level. So again, here's what's going on when I have it on, and then I'll just take it off and listen to how the mix falls apart.
With my tongue, I can set ablaze everything that stands in my way.
Yeah, it just feels like the mix falls apart.
With my tongue, I can set ablaze everything that stands in my way. Stands in my way.
Beautiful. Now, of course, you can overcook this thing. Listen to what happens when I crank the intensity all the way up.
With my tongue, I can set ablaze everything that stands in my way. Stands in my way. Oh, with my tongue, I can confess.
Now, that actually doesn't sound horrible. It's obviously way more cooked, and it's way more obvious, way more crunchy. Kind of reminds me of records from 2000, circa 2001, 2002. So what I love about this, what I love, is that it's as much or as little as you need, and it finesses beautifully. There's two things to keep in mind. You can dial down the output again so you can get the effect without the volume. That's critical. And number two is the input knob. If you actually want to get more compression without cranking the intensity, you can dial up the input knob. So more signal is hitting the compressor. It actually triggers the compressor underneath the hood more so that you can get more of the pumping without all the sizzle. So you can actually get a lot of variety of sounds with this plugin. He's got a few starting points where it's just basically 4 ways to view the plugin. He calls buckle in, which is pretty much a lot. Then he's got mix fairy dust, which is just a tad. He's got you clean up real nice, which is usually about where I find myself leaving the intensity knob, is about that 10 o'clock level. And then this is halfway up, 12 o'clock party started. This is full on, pretty much obvious effect. But you have a lot of control of the input and output knob. So long and short of it, the Mix-Centric plugin, I told my Dueling Mixes members few months ago that this is becoming like the magic plugin. There is no such thing as a magic plugin, but this is one of those that always sounds good to me. And you just need a little bit of it. And it can take your hard work to the next level without overthinking it, with only really one knob. It's very, very well done, very well executed. I thought it would be a fancy idea of a plugin for someone who's new to mixing, who doesn't know how to use real plugins. It was more gimmicky to me when I first heard of it. It is not a gimmick. It's the real deal. The only word of warning with this plugin, again, I would say, is that you can easily overcook your mix. And like anything, we like brighter things, and our ears also get overly used to bright things quickly. So what sounds good at first at maybe this level, after 20 more minutes of hearing it, you're going to want more. And you're going to find yourself going, oh, it's not bright enough. It's not bright enough. It's not bright enough. You're going to eventually start cranking this thing up, and your ears will get used to it, and it'll sound fine to you. But when your ears are fresh the next morning, or when someone else hears it, they're going to go, wow, this is a really hyped, crunchy mix. So make sure that you take frequent breaks. Make sure that you reference other material, and you don't overcook the mix. If done subtly, this is a beautiful bit of magic to an already decent mix. There it is, the Greg Wells Mix-Centric plugin from Waves. Definitely worth a demo. Definitely worth adding to your mix bus at the end of your chain when you're ready to be done with the mix. It is fantastic. I love mixing through it. I use it regularly now, and it's become one of my staples. Kudos to Waves. Kudos to Greg Wells for working with them. Again, he has a very musical ear. He understands great music, and I'm glad to see him working with Waves and making something that's very usable for the pro and project studio alike. If this review is helpful to you, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a like. Subscribe to the videos. Let me know in the video comments below if you have this plugin or if you've demoed it. I'd love to see how you're using it. Maybe you're using it at the beginning of a mix, mixing through it. Haven't done too much of that, although that's not a bad idea. Other than that, my friend, have a fantastic day. Make some great music. I'll see you on another video real soon.